Welcome back to the cosasverdes altcoin and crypto trading show. This is Tim. Today's Monday, October 11th, 2021, and let's get after it. So returning viewers, go ahead and take a quick second, smash that like for me, punch it in the face, give it a love tap, whatever you want to do. And it'll also help me if you help me help the algo by leaving an emoji thumbs up or LOL you suck or cosa muy feo, whatever you want to put. Leave me a super quick comment as we're getting through. And new viewers, here's what my channel does. Most channels you're watching out there are not giving you an idea of what is happening when you're clicking around with your money in that moment. So what my channel does is it helps you understand your statistical edge in very, very basic terms for newer folks who are clicking around with their money in crypto. And my channel is built for folks like you. I also have links to my Patreon with exact examples listed in the Patreon of what each tier gets for value. So you can go ahead and check that out and decide if that's worth your time and investment. So let's get after it. We had a pretty interesting, very, very end of week. So this is the daily chart. So this starts Monday, right? So the last trading candle of the week, last week, so the last day of the week was this red candle. So we're going to zoom in on there. And I wanted to show you that even though Bitcoin maintained its posturing, there was a big sell-off at the last hours of the week, all right, which greatly affected not really Bitcoin structure, but this little driving in price down. I thought it was extremely obvious that it was trying to knock people out of their lungs before a big green week. So looking things on the weekly scale, we had Bitcoin just getting to start moving here. And so this week, had it closed way up here, right, all the longs still would have been in their position. So things were driven down at the last minute of the week, get some longs out, but primarily in the altcoins that you can use futures on, they took a bigger hit, a much bigger hit. Let's just let's look at, like, for example, like Cardano. So let's go back. And it actually lost a little bit of its structure. So Cardano was maintaining a higher low structure here, and it wicked. And so you see how Bitcoin is barely affected by that? Well, here Cardano was wicked all the way significantly below this structure here, almost breaking out of this higher low structure. Getting people out of longs before most likely big wick up. Let's look at, for example, XRP. Also, XRP wicked down much lower than what I would have anticipated. See this big wick down here? Hey, let's get everybody out of their longs. So as exchanges, we don't have to do stuff. So to my community, I gave an alert. Where was I? I was outside. Oh, I was at some little outside festival, I guess, with kids and bouncy houses. But I saw that happen, and I let my community know, hey, this is probably just a washout before a big, since it's the end of the week, there's only about 4 or 5 hours left or whatever. And I let them know you might want to play around with X and X, and I gave them a couple suggestions, VeChain being one of those. So that time is now passed, that wick is now done, but I helped it was very clear that there was a high probability, in terms of clicking around with your money, high probability that this was a stop hunt, and being able to enter a long during a stop hunt as opposed to a crash down, right, is very key. So the end of the week was key to understand that. That little bit of finagling was happening right at the end of the week. And if it's finagling to the downside, then that likely means you're going to have a good week up, especially in this strong uptrend that we have, right? Okay, very similar to how there was finagling to the upside before a big move down here, right? So this same thing, but on a much smaller scale. Now going over to my favorite charts, there wasn't a monster amount of liquidations that happened or anything to that effect. However, it was on a smaller scale. We could see here on the left-hand side that the estimated leverage ratios chilling in the middle, so there won't be any nasty moves up and down to try to get big liquidations for the exchanges. The exchanges reserve, which is essentially Bitcoin held on exchanges, both exchanges Bitcoin and their users Bitcoin, is still very, very, very low. So there's not a lot of liquidity relative for Bitcoin on spot exchanges. So price can move pretty fast. So the order books are thinner, which means if somebody with $20 million or whatever hit market buy, it would eat up the thin orders because there's not a ton of people looking to a relative to sell at higher levels. So when somebody hits market buy, it's like playing Hungry Hungry Hippo, or a game where there's some, like a baby game where an animal comes out and like bites like marbles floating around. Well, when the order book is thinner, that means your hippopotamus comes out and gobbles up more marbles, essentially, and it makes price move farther. So what this is saying is, what it's suggesting is the order books for Bitcoin can be a little thinner, and buy pressure to the upside could really get things going, so that you can have some pretty large weeks, and Bitcoin could easily break all-time highs very quickly, perhaps even before the end of the month of October. It might not take that long. That's what it's suggesting. Does it mean that's exactly what will happen? No, it does not. So another interesting thing that I wanted to show you real quick here is the stablecoins ratio. So it's essentially Bitcoin divided by stablecoins, and it's still very low. So I don't think altcoin season will be official until we get more into this middle of the range here. See this? So we are starting to work our way up here, and that might take till the middle of November. So once we approach this range, that's when the general altcoin market should be starting to really get going, and Bitcoin dominance will finally have made a local high and will probably begin its descent down. So that's what I'm seeing here. So let's play around with Bitcoin real quick here. I wanted to show you some midterm targets, just a few options here. So you know how I've been talking about this on my channel for quite a while, the idea that these fractals right here, I think one of these two, I thought one of those two were going to happen, right? So, and I don't know which one. So the pattern that we recently played definitely looked more like this. And when Bitcoin broke above 53, it's more similar to that big candle there, broke out of the range. So this idea just happened with Bitcoin, and this is the one I was rooting for, and it ended up happening. I got a little lucky there. However, what I wanted to show you here is how Bitcoin might behave thereafter. So will Bitcoin do a bouncy and then a pump? Will Bitcoin just start pumping, or will we have like a bouncy? And so how high and how long will that take to get Bitcoin to get, based off of previous price history? So what I'm going to do is take 3 areas of previous price history, drag it onto there, so we can get an idea of the 3 major ideas on how Bitcoin might behave. So let's just say that this fractal really was it. I'm going to take it from the big candle that busted up to only 40K. All right. So if that's all that was needed, Bitcoin could behave, and it's already behaving slightly more more aggressive than that right now. But Bitcoin could, easily get to 160K before the end of the year, rather easily. And that's only this move from here to here. Okay, the entirety of the move was more like from 8,600 to 64K. So I'm only taking a good snippet of it, but that's one snippet of one move. Bitcoin before the end of the year, 160K. All right, so that is just a straight up option, like sort of parabolic type of move. All right, now could it go higher? I think it could, but that's just one idea to get us to the end of the year. Now, what could end up happening is our recent consolidation could be as major as this. Then let's say we get one more bounce, consolidate. So we pass all-time highs of 64K, come back down to crash on it, consolidate, and then move up for a parabolic move. So this one is bouncy, then parabolic, right? And this is how the end of 2017 happened. So let's say I'm going to get it from this candle of the breakout there. So this would likely suggest that Bitcoin will go above all-time highs, then come back down and rest in this consolidation zone. So bouncy, then parabolic. And honestly, I would prefer this one because Bitcoin can go much higher if it has a bounce, consolidates on top of all-time highs, and then creates a base for a parabolic move, as opposed to just saying parabolic moved out at the end of the year. It won't go as high. It will not go as high. So this has Bitcoin speeding past the new year into February to 325K. And that's only the tail end of 2017 tagged on, right? So all I did was take this, and so Bitcoin has behaved exactly like this before. So well above 110K Bitcoin is completely possible. I'm showing you this right now. This is how Bitcoin has moved the idea that it could move like very similarly in the future, okay, is pretty high. All right, I don't want to really compare 2013 too much, but it just straight up parabolic moved. All right, so let's say that what happened here was recent price action. We recently broke above, then Bitcoin did something stupid like that. I'm probably gonna have to shrink this down because Bitcoin's order books might be slightly thin and all that kind of stuff, but it's still not a small. You know, this would be like the equivalent of I can't remember what Bitcoin's market cap was, but it was probably under 100 billion at that time, right? So, or much under 100. I mean, maybe even under a couple billion. So, a lot of proponents of 2013. I'm going to have to shrink that down. That's just way too big. All right. So if Bitcoin just went straight up parabolic, did its move, maintained the 4-year cycle, moved anywhere similarly how it did in 2013, but more realistically. So I did shrink this down. You know, this could move up to 320K by the end of the year. I think, I mean, that wouldn't be my favorite option. So if I had to draw you out what my favorite options are for Bitcoin right now, I would say, I would give you two options. I think either classic or more bullish than what you would think. So I would say more classic would be break all-time highs, come back down, consolidate, and then go on another move. That's my current favorite one. I don't think it'll necessarily just consolidate here only, then take off. I bet it'll pass, wash people out so you can get some liquidation. So I think, you know, there will be a lot of people shorting. So this would be a great opportunity for exchanges to short squeeze and then liquidate longs, consolidate for a while, and then move up. That's why it's my top bets. So I think Bitcoin will go straight past all-time highs, then come back and consolidate on either on top of this blue box area or use the blue box area in general as the very base. Something to that effect is what I would say. Or my second favorite option is Bitcoin literally just, I mean, let's say 6 green weeks in a row, like something to this effect. It might just charge up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's do 7 green weeks in a row. And I'm thinking that'll do 86 or something like that. I'm shooting for 86K. And 77K. All right, so more bullish than you think. So I think Bitcoin can do something, march up to 77K, 5 or 6 green weeks in a row, clearly pass all-time highs, get people longing around that point, and then come down, get a nice big washout, then consolidate a little bit heavier on top of like a new box that I have to make up here. So that would be my second most likely scenario for Bitcoin, okay? And I think that altcoins will really start raging sometime. So this play would be tricky for altcoins because altcoins would probably rage and then really crash hard with Bitcoin. But I think once Bitcoin started ranging in the middle, I think altcoin season would then happen. So yeah, that's how I think Bitcoin's going to move throughout the end of the year. The two most likely situations, but we also played with funsies with parabolic moves and bounces and all that good stuff. All right, so let's go to Ethereum. Actually, let's go to Cardano. Like, Cardano is just chilling. Cardano's saying, hey, you know, y'all might be hot, but I'm taking my time, and I am building, essentially, I'm just doing one massive consolidation because I want to go above $4. Okay, and you can see to previous price history, look, this consolidation was much needed because Cardano just went straight up, right? Like one consolidation and straight up. So this is just one big, massive second consolidation here. It's like building a house on top of this base in order able to lift it up. So you might get something, you know, 60% of the size of this run right here. That absolutely could happen, and the longer the better. I don't expect it's going to come back down and fill at this part of the range, but it's going to base, so stepping stone, launch pad potentially. And so from a structural standpoint, this is kind of needed, and and it wasn't quite as needed as on the other altcoins, because Cardano, since Cardano was so terribly weak during the bear market, it made up for it, and in making up for it, its ROI was just insane, and it went straight up, mostly due to its weakness. So had Ethereum only been as weak as Bitcoin, right, it would have only come back down to, it would have only come down to here. So therefore, instead of having 18,000% run, you would have a more realistic 1,300, 1,300, 1,400% run. So it's a big difference, right? So this honestly is just weakness, but to make up for that weakness, it only created one base and then made up for it, and now it's creating its second base. You see what I'm saying there? So all of this is weakness that did not exist in Bitcoin. So the gains, are obviously realized if you took advantage of its weakness, but in general structural terms, its starting point was technically about right there per Bitcoin. Obviously, this is a great buy opportunity down here in retrospect, so I'm just showing you structurally, since Cardano had to make up for its weakness, it lacked a lot of structure in its building structure, and that might be what's causing it to move sideways a little longer, while Ethereum and Bitcoin seem to be getting the things done. So from an EMA standpoint, you can see this as really basing on the red line and the yellow line, which are the weekly 10 and 21 EMAs. Now you have it Cardano basing right on the 10 and only wicking down perfectly. Like, this is almost as perfect as you can get. Closing tiny
candles around the 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks, and a few rechecks of the 21. This is really good consolidation. I'm not, a lot of you know that everybody loves Cardano. I'm not a huge fan of Cardano as a business, in terms of how many years they've produced promises almost only, as opposed to, being a profitable company, which they're not still, because they're still relying on investor money to keep their lights on and pay their employees, obviously. However, from a purely charting perspective, I do like what's happening with Cardano right now. I think it could be leading up towards one of the more aggressive runs up, leading towards the end of the year because of this consolidation on a percentage basis. I think it could have a nice run. Now, in terms of the top 10 altcoins that are not that aren't stable coins, I think this one's being set up from this day right now to the end of the year to potentially have one of the biggest ROIs because of this structure, and notably, a lot of this structure is needed because Cardano was so weak during last bear market. So let's go on to Ethereum. All right, so Ethereum is moving very similarly to how it moved back. Yeah, I told y'all this could happen. So for those of you who've been with me for a while, this is going to Starbucks, to poop for a long time, but actually, going to Starbucks and popping a tent and staying there for 210 days or whatever. So look how similar. So just here, let me take off the EMA so you can look. So this is back in 2017. Throughout the run of it. So throughout a huge portion of 2017, all that Cardano did was go straight up, consolidate, then straight up, which is kind of what I think Ethereum or Cardano is about ready to do. I think Cardano is somewhere about right here, potentially, or right here in this consolidation area. Anyway, so Ethereum, what it's doing right now is it's not going straight sideways. It's consolidating at an angle like this, right? So let's go ahead and take, even though the shape might not be identical, whatever, show you. So remember what that looked like. Actually, it does look pretty similar. Ha! All right, now let's zoom in here. Take a look at that. Look how similar that is. So a breakout point similar to my previous Ethereum, Ethereum video, I was thinking somewhere around first or second week of November. This has it potentially a little bit earlier if everything were to line similarly to 2017. I still think it's going to put in a little bit more time. However, the way it behaved exactly in 2017 suggests it could happen the last week of October instead of one of the first 2 weeks of November. However, it has horizontals to get by. That's why I think I personally would delay this by at least a week. All right. So digging on to what do I mean by horizontals? Well, I simply don't think a 2-week candle can close above here this attempt. So this bi-weekly candle just started. All right, so I'm on the bi-weekly chart. So every 2 of these is almost a month, right? It doesn't align with a month perfectly, because it's weekly, not monthly. But these count hugely, because trading goes a little bit more by weeks as opposed to the end of the month, to some degree. Anyway, so I've been waiting on a closure above this line for a while, as you most know, and it squeaked it out. I simply don't think that this 2-week candle, which closes in 13.5 days, so we're only half day in, I don't think it's going to make it up above there and close. I think it could easily wick above, come back down, close here, then get a smaller 2-week candle, and then have another big 2-week candle to take us through late November and for a massive December. However, in order for Ethereum to, really giddy up and create and make all-time highs, you have to have a candle close here first. You're not just going to have a 2-week candle go boom, up, all-time highs. And if it does do that, it's going to come right back down. I'm telling you. That's exactly what would happen. So you would prefer over the rest of this month, even though this is the bi-weekly candle, not a monthly candle, you would prefer that in the next 14 days, a candle to close just above here so that price isn't getting too hot too fast, running away from its lower time EMAs. And then if you could get a nice candle closure that squeaks out just like this candle squeaked above this line, if you could just squeak out another one without getting too hot, then Ethereum would have potential for a very nasty run up way above $4,000 and begin its ascent up. So I really like this bi-weekly chart on Ethereum. And what I'm rooting for is in 14 days, close this month of October, close around 39.30. Okay. Close around this line. And let's see if the monthly actually aligns with that. No, the monthly doesn't. See why I'm using the bi-weekly chart. Bi-weekly chart's where it's at. It's going to be hard. But anyway, I think the bi-weekly will close below here, and the next few days might charge up to here so that it then goes to the monthly scale, and the monthly might close here. However, this 2-week candle that closes in 13 days, which would put us at October 24th, I think it's going to close somewhere about here. So actually, just let me make a line for my guess. I bet it closes somewhere around there. I guess I can't put a line exactly, but whatever. All right, bi-weekly closure there. And then the next week, or you know what, Tim? I want to do this. I want to make a guess, like here. There you go. I would say a closure right there. And then the next week, I don't think would be a massive week either. I think then it would close. And after that, then it can explode. And that would take you till mid-November, and then your momentum would be up. So I think Ethereum will continue to crawl upwards. So if you want to look at a smaller time frame, what that looks like, I think it's just going to be up and sideways. I don't think you're going to get any nasty, massive pumps, something like this or this. I don't think any of those are going to happen. All right. I would expect something just a steady, something to this effect, and then copy paste, copy paste. So it might move more similarly to this. So actually, I will leave that there in spot. Actually, that's not a bad guess at all. It'd have a monthly closure around that line. Bi-weekly gets rejected, comes back down, and then you start moving. And then after that, all that happens, and you cross this line here with this fractal. Here, let's show you how this is doing this. Let's see how this fractal passes it and comes back down to check it perfectly, so then it could keep going. That honestly would be perfect, price action. So those are the things that I'm seeing with Ethereum. Now, when will altcoins pump? I want to be very clear with this. Well, I think it's going to be very clear when altcoins are going to pump when Bitcoin dominance has made a clear local high. Wow, it's getting up there. So when will this happen? Well, let's look at Bitcoin dominance from a charting perspective. I think it could hit this white line. So I think altcoin season, whenever this white line is hit by Bitcoin dominance, or slightly past, but somewhere around this point, once it hits, you can start the clock on saying, hey, altcoin season might be happening soon. Could take 2 or 3 weeks for it, for that to happen. But I don't think you should even think about it until this is hit. And it honestly, what could happen is it hits and actually goes past it, so you have to wait even longer. I really don't know the answer, but that would be my starting point. I think you're going to have a retest of this line from a charting perspective, and then altcoins really perform, and then Bitcoin might, come back down here and tag this low for the end of the cycle, something to that effect. You might just have some massive, symmetrical shape with this kind of coinciding with, well, actually not coinciding because you won't have this area here. But you might have something similar, copy paste this area, come back over here, and you make a new low on this side. Something to that effect. But so with your altcoin expectations, okay, in general terms, you can use the Bitcoin dominance chart. If you don't see 49 hit, or at least 48, then just keep your expectations calm. So if Bitcoin dominance is under 48, keep your expectations calm. Or if Bitcoin has not passed all-time highs and can't come back down to check them with a correction, I think altcoin season will happen after a nice higher low is formed on Bitcoin. And until that happens, it might just be Bitcoin and then some altcoins, just popping off, depending on which ones are strong, which ones are weak, but it won't be all of them together as an altcoin season. I don't see altcoin season happening quite yet because Bitcoin has not closed a week above here. And if Bitcoin passes it, right, and screams to that 77 to 87 mark that I was thinking, altcoins might have a mini season, crash hard, consolidate, and then the real altcoin season. So you might get an altcoin season fake out. So if you see Bitcoin really passing all-time highs, I personally would begin taking some profits on my altcoins at that time in expectation of a retest of the previous high. So don't forget that. And I know a lot of people are watching this Bitcoin updates in order to stay on top of their altcoins, but these are the two ways that I think Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano are going to move and how it will affect all of the market. So if you liked what you saw here today and you're new, hit subscribe, hit that bell so you can stay in the know, so you can have a statistical advantage and a statistical understanding of what you're doing when you're clicking around with your money. And if you're a returning viewer, you haven't had a second to hit that, smash that like before you go, punch it in the face, give it a love tap, whatever you want to do, help out the algo. We'll see you next time. Y'all just got Timified.